There is nothing scarier than talking on camera, except for when you're filming and someone walks in the room and your heart just drops. We all watch videos every day, but what we don't realize is those people that we're watching, they weren't born with the skill and confidence to talk on camera. It was developed over time. This is a must-have skill as a UGC or content creator. I'm going to share with you some practical skills and exercises that helped me become more confident and comfortable on camera. Some of the most common issues people face when they turn on that camera is your brain just goes blank. You look into that lens and all of a sudden there's not a thought in your brain and you don't know what to do. You clam up, some people even start to sweat, and you just don't know what to do or say. Everyone goes through it, I think, at least at some point. Some other issues people have are nervous tics. Some people like to rub their face or scratch their ear or hold a wrist or do just weird, uncomfortable things with their body while they're trying to talk to the camera just to make themselves feel more comfortable because they're nervous. And probably one of the biggest things almost everyone absolutely deals with at some point are awkward pauses and ums and ahs. Our brains naturally go into this place where they need to fill the gap while you're trying to think of things to say. So you start using a lot to fill that dead space so there's not an awkward silence. But those things can actually make it harder to think of what it is that you're trying to say to begin with. And it does take practice over time to cut those out. Another issue a lot of people have is just fear of judgment. They're scared of what people are going to say or what people are going to think when they see the video that they're trying to make. And with that, a lot of times it ends up making some people try to be someone that they're not in front of the camera. And that can come off very awkward as well. And the person filming knows it's coming off awkward because they know they're not genuinely being themselves. And all of these common issues can come together and just create an overwhelming sense of anxiety that just compounds the fear inside one's head and makes it sometimes almost impossible to think of what it is that you want to say or what you want to do. So many times, and so many times with myself, I have gone to film and I've had this brilliant idea in my head, and as soon as that red light turns on, the anxiety takes over, and all of a sudden I have no idea what to say, even though I created this perfect scenario for filming inside my head, but the anxiety was more powerful. So to get right into it, I've developed some talk to camera exercises that just help you get comfortable in front of the camera and make it easier to be more authentic and genuine with yourself. And some of those exercises are geared around being authentic, learning your speech patterns and being able to speak with humor and energy. So many people are afraid to let out even the slightest amount of energy in a video, especially when they're first starting. And this can make a huge difference in how you come off to the camera and to the viewer. And then understanding your emotional language patterns so you can convey emotional situations through words. So the first exercise is in authenticity. When you're talking to the camera, don't try to be someone or something you're not. Be yourself and create a connection with the viewer. And I'm gonna hop over to my other camera here and I'm gonna shoot these exercises as examples so you can understand better what I'm talking about. And the first exercise is called breathe in, breathe out. As simple as it may sound, it really is that simple. So you just want to set your camera up however it is you want to film. Doesn't matter if it's horizontal or vertical. Just as long as you turn the camera on and you practice. And it's simply push record and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And do this in sets of 3. And then when you're ready, Just speak to the camera in an authentic way that's genuine to yourself. The next one is shake it loose. And it literally is just what it sounds like. Getting the blood pumping and flowing and maybe even bringing your heart rate up just a little bit, loosening your muscles can make a massive difference in how your body language feels, which will give you more authenticity. So loosening up a little can just do a lot for the brain. And I'll come over to my other camera and record an example of that. And again, it's just a matter of turning on your camera and recording and practicing. With Shake It Out, it is just what it says. Shake it out. Loosen up. Shake your arms. As ridiculous as it may seem, the only one who is ever going to see this is you. So you don't need to worry about feeling stupid. The only thing it's going to do is make you realize that you've already done the most ridiculous part. So anything you're going to say on camera is just going to feel more comfortable to begin with. The third one in authenticity is no one gives a shit. More often than not, when we're filming, we think the whole world's going to see everything it is that we film. And that's really not the case. And the real reality of it is you probably care more about how you look than the person who is viewing it. And they probably really don't give a shit about the things that are making you uncomfortable. So if they don't care, you probably shouldn't either. And with this exercise, I'll hop over and record an example of it. With the nobody gives a shit exercise, it's literally just about being as ridiculous as you can, because the only one who really cares whether or not you're ridiculous is you. Just do weird stuff. Shake. Make funny noises. Because you'll find that you realize how ridiculous you're being, and that'll help loosen you up. Now, once you've gone through these three pretty basic and kind of funny exercises, the fourth one is about speaking your purpose. So this time you're going to turn on the camera and you're actually going to speak from an authentic place after doing these three exercises. And you'll find how much easier it is to just have a conversation as if you're speaking with a friend. And I'll record an example of that. When I originally started my journey in content creation, I wanted to document the process of building a homestead from scratch. And when I started doing this, I realized not only how hard homesteading truly was, but how hard content creation was as well. But somewhere in there, I found this balance of a passion for wanting to film and record and edit and document and just have something as a form of almost a video diary and journal for my family to look upon one day. And when I found that passion for content creation, it led me into worlds of new and exciting adventures that I didn't even think were possible. So it's brought us to this place that we are today. And that would be an example of speaking authentically from within yourself. Then moving on to humor. Humor is not about jokes. It's not about being funny and goofy. Humor is about being comfortable and not too serious about what it is that you're doing. And that can bring a certain element into your videos and into how you speak to the camera that'll eventually create a level of comfortability for you. It's kind of like anyone who's ever been involved in a sales job, or more particularly sales over the phone. Almost every sales job I'd ever had when I was younger, every one of my managers told me to smile on the phone because they can tell the difference when you're speaking, whether or not you're smiling or upset. And it changes your vocal inflection and reflects in what it is you're saying. So just a real simple exercise for humor to kind of bring it out and loosen you up and make you more comfortable and not be too serious about it is one simple exercise. Force laughter. Oh, you want to do this for at least a solid 30 seconds and record yourself doing it. And you'll notice when you review your video later on, after forcing yourself to laugh for at least a solid 30 seconds, you'll start to notice that you're genuinely laughing. And once you notice that you're beginning to genuinely laugh, you'll feel yourself start to loosen up. You'll start to smile. You won't be as serious. You'll start to realize that you're a lot more comfortable going into the main content it is that you're ready to record. Energy. Now, this is a really big one because so many people will turn on the camera and start talking like this. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris. Welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy the video that I made for you today. No one wants to watch that. It lacks anything and everything that would say, hey, I'm gonna watch this all the way to the end because it's good. The viewer wants to feel something out of it. And the energy you display is what brings them in and makes them want to watch the video. So displaying natural energy, and that comes with vocal inflection and controlling your voice, and then displaying hand gestures as well. You know, in your most natural state, almost everyone talks with their hands in one way or another. Think of the last time you had a conversation with just 2 or 3 other people. What were your hands doing, and how often were they moving? What kind of hand gestures were you making? So as we come into the first exercise in energy, it is all about hand gestures and dynamic speech. And dynamic speech is just controlling the tonality of how you speak, your highs and your lows, because your voice is an instrument, not a tool. And you have to learn how to play it, much like a guitar. So with this exercise, you just want to turn on the camera, pick a topic you're comfortable speaking about, maybe even try to bring in the 2 previous exercises with authenticity and humor, and talk about something that you're comfortable with that you can authentically speak about and use hand gestures. And when you use hand gestures, you typically want to use open style posture that's non-threatening, because something like pointing directly at the camera, that's like pointing in someone's face and it's threatening. So open palms, open chest, those are very inviting hand gestures. And sometimes when you need to make a serious point, you can put your palm down. But practice with your hand gestures and where you move them and what you're gonna do. And then work with the dynamic range of your voice. Bring up your highs and bring down your lows, and emphasize specific words when you're trying to get a specific point across. Now, the next exercise is all about volume. A lot of people get really timid when the camera turns on, and they tend to get a little bit quiet. So this one is just about bringing it up to the max volume to understand basically where you max out in your speech and understand where you are when you normally speak, and then find that common ground in the middle, and that's typically where you want to film at. So now this one's just about being loud and obnoxious. Plain and simple, but you can see how that is way too loud. And this is my normal voice when I'm normally talking. So you want to find that point right in the middle and just bring that volume up a bit. Now, I know if there are people in your house and you start screaming at the camera, they're probably going to think you're crazy. But at the same time, that'll bring in the authenticity and you being a bit more comfortable realizing that it's really not that big of a deal. So the third exercise is max out the intensity. So you want to get on camera again and film and just be as intense as possible. And much like volume, because intensity is not about volume. Intensity is about the energy that you bring, not the volume of your speech. And when you find that maximum amount of intensity, then you want to do the same, knock it down by 30%, and it's going to be above where you normally are, but below your maxed out, and that's about the perfect intensity to record. So an example of maxing out the intensity is like, think of the old Mountain Dew commercials, you know. I can't remember the lines right off my bat, but, you know, talk about a story of when you went snowboarding or rock climbing. Like, for me, I would max out the intensity that way, from an adrenaline rush of the past. Like, Oh, dude, I was in the gorge and I was so pumped up today, man. I climbed a 514B. I didn't take one whipper on that thing and I red pointed it. It was insane. That's your intensity. And lastly, we have emotion. And emotional speech isn't about being emotional. It's about conveying and communicating emotions with specific words. So we're going to come over here and consult the wheel of emotion. And the wheel of emotion literally just takes your 6 core emotions and then branches them out with a plethora of adjectives you can use to describe that scenario. When we get over to the exercises, what you want to do is pick one of the core emotions and then span out on the wheel and find three emotions, 3 similar emotions, 3 contradicting emotions, whatever. But using the wheel of emotion can kind of help you to understand how to use specific words to convey a feeling so someone else understands it. So since coming out of energy, it was a lot more excited and a lot more intense. On the wheel of emotion, I'm gonna pick sadness. And then I'm gonna go down the wheel and maybe take hopeless, regretful, and guilty. And we'll go back over to the camera for an example. So with the wheel of emotion, I had hopeless, regretful, and guilty. So when you pick those emotions, think of something that's happened in your life and then use those 3 words to describe that scenario, to convey that emotion. So something like this. I let my dog out of the house earlier and he was off the chain and I feel so guilty about it because I know I should have put him on the chain. And he ran out into the road and he got hit by a car. Now he's in the emergency room of the vet. And I don't know. It might be hopeless. I don't know if my dog's going to be able to survive, man. It's all my fault. I regret it, but I knew better. I knew I shouldn't have done that. That's an example of how to use the words in the wheel of emotion. Draw on something you've experienced to convey those emotions. So when you're done recording that exercise, go back, review it, see what you could have done better, and see how you could have explained things in a more cohesive manner. It's all about practice. I know it's redundant to say, but it really is true. Practice, practice, practice. I use these exercises still to this day. If I'm fumbling or I'm just not quite there, I'm not even feeling in the mood to film, I'll go through a lot of these exercises and it just gets you open and loose and comfortable and ready to film. So practice, practice, practice. And also, if you're finding value in this video at this point, please hit the like and subscribe button. The next exercise is feel your voice. It's just about understanding where you feel speech originates inside your own body. Think about where you believe your speech originates from. A lot of people are going to say diaphragm. Some people are going to say heart. Some people are going to say lungs. But whichever spot that may be, place your hand where you feel that speech originates from and feel it within inside your body, and then push record on the camera and just start speaking and listen and feel the words coming out of your mouth and out of your chest and understand, are your words coming from your heart or are they coming from your diaphragm, and really feel what it is that you're speaking. And keep your hand there the entire time while you're recording. Then when you're done with that exercise, review it and place your hand in that same spot again and see if you feel the same origination of that spot while you're watching the video. And then we're on to the final exercise. Know your audience. This exercise is all about perspective, if you will, and understanding how your audience feels. So think about who it is that you're speaking to, who it is that is going to be viewing the video that you make, and ask yourself, what would they want to see? How would they feel? What type of person are they? What do they do for a living? Do they go on walks in the afternoon? Do they have 3 dogs and a cat, or 4 cats and 1 dog? You know, what kind of lifestyle do they live? What kind of hobbies do they have? You know, do they like to have wine with dinner? I mean, get creative with it and think about this person and really build an essential avatar of who it is you believe will be watching your video, and then turn on the camera and record yourself as if you're just going to have a conversation with that person that you've just built up and created inside your mind. So for the know your audience, I concocted an avatar of an individual for my TikTok page in the style of content that I make over there. And that person who's going to be viewing my video, I'm envisioning being probably pretty hardworking, maybe blue collar worker, construction type workers, because I do make some construction themed content on that particular TikTok account. And they work hard and they get home and they want to kick their boots off and they want to drink a beer and maybe sit in the garage and blast some really loud music and just not think about anything for a minute, except for maybe why it is they do what they do. And now that a long, hard day's over and they've cracked an ice cold beer, they just want to relax and maybe laugh a little bit. So that's the audience member that I would be talking to in the avatar that I created in my head. For you in this particular exercise, it'll be a lot different. And then when you find them, speak to them as if you're just having a normal conversation about what their day was like, what happened on the job site, so on and so forth. And now that you've gone through all these exercises, I hope you've learned a little bit about how to become more comfortable, more confident, have better speech, a more dynamic voice when you're speaking to the camera. But most importantly, by the time you've gone through all these exercises, you will have realized that you've already done the most ridiculous things that you can possibly do in front of the camera. So turning it on to tell a speech or demonstrate a skill that you have in order to make the video that you want to make should be so much easier, because you've already done the hard part of acting a fool in front of the camera. And it might be hard at first, but if you keep practicing these over and over and over again, you'll start to realize how much faster and how much easier it becomes to do this, and how much more control over your voice that you have as you start playing it like an instrument instead of using it as a blunt force hammer. And you can use these exercises over and over again. And like I said, I still use a lot of them today, that when I'm not quite in the mood, I'll do several of these exercises to just get me going and get everything moving and flowing and the blood pumping, and I'll shake it out and I'll laugh and do the authenticity exercises, and I'll just go from there. And once I've done them, it makes it so much easier to turn on the camera and do what it is that I want to do and do what it is that I enjoy, because again, you've already done the ridiculous stuff. And check out this video here if you want to see what you should and shouldn't have in your UGC portfolio. And with that, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Thank you.